Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric here with Iraq Veteran 8888. Today, I'd like to read a 2A op-ed from a good friend of mine, Jennifer Sensiba. She's a fellow colleague and friend of mine I've known for quite some time, and she does a good bit of writing. And one place that she writes is over at Truth About Guns. And I thought that I would share this particular article because it does sort of take a peek under the hood, if you will, of some of the thought process that the anti-gunners have in their heads in terms of why they have such a strong feeling against gun ownership. And it's very revealing. So I'd like to kind of share some of this information, and always want to support Jennifer's work because she does a great job and has a good perspective on things. And I think you'll come away from this kind of scratching your head going like, wow, like there's some crazy things that go through these people's minds. It's interesting to get inside of the head of an anti-gunner and really know what makes them tick. Before we get started, I would like to thank our friends at CMMG for supporting our videos. If you are looking for anything in the AR category, they are the king of weird. They got some awesome standard ARs as well, of course, but their bufferless descent line is definitely cutting edge. Their radially delayed blowback systems and some of their AR9s and things like that are fantastic. They suppress exceptionally well. You may be familiar with the Mark 47. They also have the new Mark 47 in the descent line now with a folding stock and with a non-reciprocating charging handle, which is really cool. So check them out. They've got some awesome 22 conversion kits, which are legendary, that hold up really well. We've tested the crap out of them. Check them out, CMMG, and tell them that we sent you over. All right, we're going to get into this, and this is over on the Truth About Guns. Okay, so stricter limits on gun rights is the only way to preserve our democracy, according to Bloomberg. Interesting. Let's get into this. A recent paper released by Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health not only exposes the real purpose of gun control, but also shows that the school is rather unserious about the promotion of actual public health. Entitled Preventing Armed Insurrection, Firearms in Political Spaces Threaten Public Health, Safety, and Democracy, you would think the authors would be actual public health professionals, doctors, or, well, anyone with public health expertise. Instead, it's written by 3 lawyers, including Josh Horowitz. We'll get to the substance of their opus in a minute, but first it's helpful to keep some things in mind about the Bloomberg School of Public Health and Horowitz. First, the school's name is no accident. America's most ardent anti-gun billionaire, Michael Bloomberg, has given the school almost $3 billion. That's why his name is on the door. Last year, Johns Hopkins absorbed the Coalition to Stop Gun Violence, formerly known as the National Coalition to Ban Handguns. That org was headed by Horowitz, one of the authors of this latest scholarly work. In other words, Bloomberg bought himself a school, and now he's using its good name to try to lend legitimacy to his ongoing gun control efforts. This exercise in advocacy is veiled in academic and even pseudo medical legitimacy rather than being just another anti-freedom screed on an anti-gun website written by a lawyer who hates civil rights. What really sets this Bloomberg School paper apart from all the others is how open it is about the real purpose of civilian disarmament and its attempts to associate gun ownership with insurrection. Instead of doing the usual thing by claiming that more and stricter gun control is essential to promoting public health, a claim the actual Democratic Party public health experts don't make, even when pressed, they too fool Washington Post, praising this vector of insurrection and implying that carrying guns in public spaces is a danger to our own democracy. They lay out their argument that insurrection is illegal and that the Constitution doesn't specifically protect any right to rebel. They conveniently leave out the fact that the Declaration of Independence says that it's not just our right, but our duty to remove governments that violate our natural rights instead of protecting them. More on that in a bit. The authors also lay out a short list of policy recommendations. They're mostly the usual demands anti-gun organizations routinely make rather than proposing any innovative, public health-based mitigation ideas. While they may be able to make a semi-reasonable argument that red flag laws somehow relate to public health, banning guns at protests and banning military-like training and paramilitary activity definitely falls well outside the domain of public health, not to mention violating Americans' freedom of assembly. It seems these hoplophobic attorneys just can't manage to stay in their lane. Hoplophobic means a fear of guns, by the way, for those of you who don't know what that word means. Anyway, they say danger to democracy like it's a bad thing. You don't have to be on the bigoted far left or right fringe to see that democracy itself can be highly dangerous. For example, as a lesbian, I know that there are places where democracy would prohibit me from being with my wife, but that doesn't happen because we set limits on what democracy can do to the individual. Real quick, one reason that I like Jennifer's writing so much is she's not afraid to say exactly who she is, what she's about, and I think that that perspective is pretty important. Not only as a female, but also as someone who comes out, as being what she is as a lesbian. I think that's pretty brave of her as a writer to do that. So, I want to give her props for look. Sometimes it's hard to just tell the absolute truth about the way you look at a certain issue or topic. So I feel like her perspective is pretty important, especially in a realm where, this area gets really taken over by, let's just say, right wing white people or whatever you want to say. I mean, like the view about the gun world is that it's only caters to white rednecks and rural places with too many guns and a whole bunch of, I don't know, moonshine in jugs or something. Like, it's a stereotypical image of what you would expect a gun owner to be. And I like the fact that Jennifer is not afraid to be like, yeah, I'm totally lesbian and it's all good to go. Big props to her. Same people like these limits because they protect the individual rights we cherish, even as they protect the rights of people we may disapprove of. That balance is essential to a functioning, peaceful civilization. Without essential guardrails to protect individual rights, democracy can quickly become Bile's 3,000 tyrants 1 mile away, stripping everything from freedom of speech and religion to the right to due process to life itself whenever it seems fashionable enough to a plurality of voters. That's why our democratic system is constrained within a Republican framework that keeps power in check, sets hard limits on government power, and takes a layered approach to the protection of essential human rights. Insurrection is one of the last resort layers of defense of these rights, and is most definitely is contained in the Constitution, even if bigoted lawyers want to bury it or deny its existence. While the Declaration of Independence isn't law like the Constitution, it's still a highly influential document that can and should use when interpreting the Constitution. The Second Amendment's prefatory clause, a well regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, tells us that the militia needs to be well armed and well trained to protect a free state. Combine the original militia acts with the 14th Amendment, and the militia is basically everyone, not just men of military age. This well armed and well trained reserve force exists not to protect democracy, but to protect a free state, defined by the Declaration as one that respects individual rights. Therefore, the duty to rebel against tyrants in a non free state is implied in the Second Amendment. But only a fool would expect a non free government, democratic or otherwise, to respect the human right to rebel against it. Of course, there are kangaroo courts, and historically ignorant scholars would deny any right to rebel. Taking them on is always a high stakes roll of the dice. Few seriously consider violent rebellion because it's a dangerous, deadly endeavor. It's not something people do unless the status quo is worse than risking death. What these phony public health scholars are trying to do is lay out the case for prior restraint against the right of rebellion. We must ask ourselves why the right to rebellion scares them so much, unless they plan to do things that would make Americans so unhappy that we're willing to gamble everything, including our lives, on rebellion. There's nothing to fear. Wow. I mean, so recently, I'd say within maybe the last week or so, Jennifer and I, through DMs on Twitter, we're discussing some of these ideas a little bit. So it's interesting to find some of this, to find its way into one of her articles and everything like that. So good writing on her part, and I always appreciate her input and some of our discussions that we have through DMs and everything like that. So good work, Jennifer. I just wanted to support your writing and kind of, get this out there for people. And those are some great points that you made there. Now, one thing that I'll add is, it is one of those kind of odd dog whistle things where someone will use the word rebellion or insurrection or, revolution or so to speak. And they use it in such a such a negative context, like it doesn't accomplish something, like the people that want to undergo it are somehow terrible or evil or want to destroy the very context of what we see as a society, as a civilized and peaceful society. Revolution means to come around back to the place you began. Think about it. What does a clock do? It revolves. The the time hand goes all the way around the dial and it finds its way. It revolves. Originally, it makes a revolution all the way back to where it began. To say a revolution means to go back to where we were, to go back to where it began, to restore things to a proper balance. That's what revolution means. In the context of the Second Amendment, in the context of gun ownership, under the lens of the American ideal, to, incite some sort of ongoing, revolution would be to restore something, a restore point, if you will, to bring something back to where it once was before. That's essentially our founding fathers had to establish what the before was, right? What the founding context of our very nation was. In order to have that founding documents, the founding principles, the founding, you know, everything, the rules and our rights, and the Bill of Rights, and all of these things, right? They had to have some sort of codified starting point to say, hey, if things get so bad that we have to resort to the Second Amendment to bring this on back around, okay, what's the back around point? What is the revolution point? What is the point that we go back to as our original context to go, okay, this is where we start and we build back up from the ashes if necessary. That's why we have a constitution. That's why we have a Bill of Rights. That's why everything is so importantly and brilliantly codified so that we have a restart point. And someone like Michael Bloomberg is so anti freedom, he just cannot simply see the forest for the trees. And many anti gunners, you know, I really do want to believe that we all want some of the same things in life. I don't think that they're terribly tyrannical, terrible people at the end of the day. Maybe some of them are. Maybe Michael Bloomberg is, of course, with his billions of dollars, trying to buy off anyone that he can to parrot the anti gun narrative. Maybe he is a truly evil person. But I think at the end of the day, many of us do want the same thing, but the difficulty is in how we're going to achieve it. And we do have quite a few arguments about how best to go about achieving those ideals. Again, the war of words is completely okay. It is okay to have a difference of opinion. That's why we have the Second Amendment. So we can protect the things we say. We can have the teeth to protect the words that are coming out of our mouth, to protect our ideals and our values and our morals and our principles and everything that we see as our view, to be able to protect that view. So, anyway, I wanted to share this because it does provide a glimpse into the real reason that anti-gunners want gun control so bad. It's something that's been sort of the unwritten rule of the road for a long time, right? We've always said that the reason they want all this gun control, right, is because they are worried about your ability to be able to stand up to all of their tyranny. And right there, it lays it out in black and white. And Jennifer, very cleverly laid that out for us. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. And also, I just some housekeeping real quick. I did update my microphone. I know some people were complaining about the audio. Let me know if the audio sounds better. This is a Blue Yeti X. So, just kind of a more recent Blue microphone. My old Blue is like, it's the one called the Blue Snowball. It's big old ugly microphone, and it's probably like 15 years old. So it's probably on the way out anyway. But anyway, let me know if you like the audio better on the new Blue Yeti X here. Just a little tech note. I know some people like to know what kind of gear I'm using. So anyway, it's the Blue Yeti X. Let me know what you think about it. But I hope the audio is better, and I hope you don't mind me cutting some of these updates and 2A news plugs here in my office. It's a lot easier for me to do this instead of having to like go downstairs and set up all the crap in the studio. To just put these kind of plugs out real quick for y'all. It's just so much easier for me to, read an article and be able to edit everything right here. So I hope you like this format. I know lots of folks enjoy the 2A article format. Look, we do have a lot more gun videos on the way. I know we've been kind of scaling back a bit. I apologize for that. I've just been very busy. I've been unpacking a lot of dark crap in my life right now. I've had a lot of things going on, and I'm kind of in between some things. So, don't worry. We have a lot of awesome stuff on the way. I promise many more gun reviews, lots of neat stuff. So bear with me, and many more videos on the way. We'll see you soon.